Welcome back to another episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, our series that keeps you updated with our ever-changing industry. For those of you that have been watching the series for a while now, you know how this goes, but for those of you that are new, welcome. We'll be covering the latest in manufacturing, packaging, coding, sustainability, and much more. I'm your host, Alexa, and today we're diving into some important food and health topics. We'll explore the FDA's proposal to require front-of-package nutrition labels and the long-awaited ban on red dye number 3 in food products. We'll also explore proposed regulations for allergen warnings on alcoholic beverages and shed light on the troubling issue of child labor prevalent in slaughterhouses. So, starting off, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, known as the FDA, has unveiled a new proposal for a front-of-package, known as FOP, nutrition label called the Nutrition Info Box. The goal? To give consumers quick and easy access to crucial information about levels of saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars in packaged foods. This proposal aligns with the FDA's broader mission to combat chronic diseases and promote healthier eating habits. Picture this: a simple black and white label that instantly tells you if a product is low, medium, or high in saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars. Unlike the detailed nutrition facts label on the back, this one's an at-a-glance guide meant to make decision-making faster and easier. Research backs this up. An FDA study from 2023 involving 10,000 U.S. adults found that the black and white format with percent daily values was highly effective in helping consumers choose healthier options. Here's what we're up against. Chronic diseases like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes are the leading causes of disability and death in the U.S. They affect 60% of Americans and cost the country $4.5 trillion annually. That's a monumental challenge. The FDA's proposed FOP label aims to tackle this by making nutrition information simpler and more accessible. Not only could this help consumers make better choices, but it may also encourage food manufacturers to reformulate their products to include fewer harmful nutrients. FDA Commissioner Robert M. Califf, MD, put it simply: "It is time we make it easier for consumers to glance, grab, and go." Deputy Commissioner for Human Foods, Jim Jones, added, "Food should be a vehicle for wellness, not a contributor of chronic diseases." With these changes, the FDA hopes to empower consumers, promote wellness, and reduce the intakes of saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars. This proposal doesn't stand alone. It aligns with the White House National Strategy on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health, which aims to reduce diet-related diseases by 2030. It also complements other FDA initiatives like updated healthy claims, a new healthy symbol, and voluntary sodium reduction targets. If finalized, businesses with annual food sales over $10 million would need to comply within 3 years, while smaller businesses would have 4 years. This is just one piece of the FDA's larger strategy to address chronic diseases and improve public health across the nation. Moving on, the Food and Drug Administration recently announced a significant regulatory decision to ban red dye number 3 from all food products in the United States. Red dye number 3, a synthetic coloring agent derived from petroleum, has been widely used for decades in candy, baked goods, and snack foods to achieve its bright, appealing red hue. Despite its popularity in processed food production, concerns regarding its potential health risks have been under scrutiny for years. This decision comes on the heels of growing consumer advocacy and scientific evidence linking the dyes to adverse health effects, including carcinogenicity. The FDA's ban marks a pivotal development in food safety regulation, as red dye number 3 has previously been prohibited in cosmetics since 1990. However, its continued presence in food products has become a contentious issue. The decision was influenced by evidence from studies that demonstrated its carcinogenic effects in laboratory animals. This ban represents a shift in FDA priorities towards stricter oversight with potential health risks and reflects a broader international trend. Notably, many European countries had already restricted or outright banned red dye number 3 in consumer foods. The new U.S. regulation will require food manufacturers to reformulate existing products with safe alternatives, a transition estimated to affect thousands of food products. One major challenge arising from this ban is its impact on the food industry. Companies relying heavily on red dye number 3 must now identify suitable alternatives that deliver the same visual appeal customers expect. Potential substitutes include natural colorants derived from beets, pomegranate, or turmeric, but these options often come at a higher cost and may alter the taste or texture of products. Advocates for the ban have suggested government funding or subsidies to support small and medium-sized manufacturers in navigating this transition. Another challenge is consumer perception. Manufacturers will need to clearly communicate the changes and benefits of safer ingredients to maintain brand loyalty. The ban is widely viewed as a step forward for public health and food safety. It reduces consumer exposure to carcinogenic substances, potentially lowering longer-term cancer risks across the population. Advocacy groups such as the Environmental Working Group, known as the EWG, celebrated the decision with one of its senior analysts stating, "This is a victory for science and health-conscious families." While there may be short-term disruptions for manufacturers and slight price increases for consumers, the long-term benefits are clear. Aligning U.S. regulations with stricter international standards could also enhance global cooperation on food safety while bolstering consumer trust. Moving on. The U.S. Treasury Department has recently proposed new rules aimed at increasing transparency in the alcoholic beverage industry. These rules would mandate alcohol manufacturers to include nutrition information and allergen warnings on their product labels, aligning the industry with broader food and beverage labeling standards. For decades, alcoholic beverages have been exempt from many labeling requirements, leaving consumers in the dark about vital information like calorie content or potential allergens. Under the proposed guidelines, labels on alcoholic beverages would need to include details such as calorie count, serving sizes, alcohol content, and allergen declarations. This move reflects growing consumer demand for more transparency regarding the substance they consume. According to the Treasury Department, the proposal would help bridge the information gap faced by consumers as they make purchasing decisions. Industry experts say that such changes could bring alcohol labeling laws in line with regulations governing non-alcoholic beverages and packaged foods. While these updates represent a step forward, they also pose challenges for manufacturers. Smaller producers in particular may face financial and logistical hurdles in adapting their operations to accommodate the new labeling requirements. For instance, redesigning product labels and performing detailed nutritional analysis can be costly, particularly for craft brewers and boutique wineries. To address these concerns, the Treasury Department has opened the proposal for public comment, potentially paving the way for a phased implementation or exemptions for smaller operators. If enacted, these changes could significantly impact both consumers and the alcohol industry. Advocates argue that enhanced labeling will empower consumers to make informed decisions about their health and safety, especially for those with dietary restrictions or allergies. Additionally, this shift could prompt beverage companies to innovate, such as developing lower-calorie or allergen-free products to meet the evolving demands of health-conscious consumers. However, opponents caution that increased regulatory burdens might lead to higher costs for producers, which could ultimately be passed on to consumers. Even so, the proposed rules mark a key development in ensuring that consumers are better informed about what they are purchasing and consuming. And we've made it to our final story. This week, child labor in meatpacking and slaughterhouses has become a growing concern, shedding light on serious violations of worker protection laws in one of the most hazardous industries. Recent investigations by the U.S. Labor Department have unveiled the alarming extent of the problem, with over 300 minors discovered working in dangerous conditions across multiple facilities. These young workers were often assigned to night shifts and roles involving hazardous machinery, including industrial saws and conveyor belts, which pose serious risks of injury or even death. The investigations have revealed not only a blatant disregard for federal labor laws designed to protect children, but also how systematic failures and oversight have allowed these abuses to persist. The revelations surrounding these violations have sparked public outrage, leading to increased scrutiny and demands for accountability from companies operating in the meatpacking industry. The Labor Department's recent investigation have led to significant action, including 3 major settlements this week, totaling over $4 million in penalties for companies employing children in illegal and unsafe conditions. Among these cases, Packers Sanitation Services Incorporated, known as PSSI, was handed the steepest fine, totaling at $1.5 million, after investigators found that 102 children, some as young as 13, were working in hazardous conditions. These minors were exposed to dangerous chemicals and tasked with cleaning high-risk machinery in 13 different meatpacking facilities, activities that carry a high likelihood of severe injury or long-term health complications. Another company faced a $1.3 million fine for employing dozens of minors who were also working in similar unsafe conditions. These penalties reflect a significant escalation in enforcement actions, underscoring the Labor Department's determination to hold employers accountable for violating child labor protections. The settlements have not only addressed the immediate causes uncovered, but have also served to highlight the broader systematic nature of child labor exploitation in these industries. The financial penalties aim to send a strong message signaling a zero-tolerance policy for such exploitive practices. Addressing the issue of child labor in meatpacking facilities remains a complex challenge, largely due to the industry's reliance on subcontractors and third-party staffing agencies. This practice often allows companies to obscure their direct responsibility for hiring practices, creating loopholes that enable illegal employment of minors to go unnoticed. For instance, PSSI claimed ignorance regarding the hiring of minors, citing failures and gaps in its subcontracted staffing processes. However, investigators noted that such claims only reinforce the need for stricter oversight and accountability measures. To combat these challenges, the Labor Department has proposed several reforms designed to close these loopholes. One of the key measures under consideration is the implementation of mandatory electronic employee verification systems such as E-Verify, which would make it more difficult for companies and staffing agencies to hire minors illegally. Additionally, the department is working to increase the frequency and rigor of audits conducted on staffing agencies and subcontractors, ensuring greater transparency and accountability throughout the hiring process. There is also an ongoing push to raise penalties for child labor violations, making the financial consequences for companies more severe and acting as a stronger deterrent against exploitive practices. By addressing these systematic gaps, these measures aim to create a more robust framework for enforcing labor laws and protecting vulnerable workers. The recent settlements and heightened enforcement actions represent a turning point in U.S. labor law enforcement, particularly for industries prone to exploitive practices. The penalties, combined with increased oversight, send a clear and urgent message. The use of child labor will no longer be tolerated, and companies that violate labor laws will be held accountable. These actions represent a critical step toward eradicating child labor in the U.S. and ensuring that no minor is subjected to harmful, exploitative conditions in the workplace. By taking a firm stance, the Labor Department is paving the way for long-term improvements in labor practices, protecting vulnerable populations, and fostering a more just and equitable work environment. This episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update is brought to you by our SNEED-Jet Titan tabletop printer. The Titan is perfect for businesses making the leap from manual to semi-automatic coding, with its horizontal traversing print head capable of producing crisp, high-quality prints up to 12.7 millimeters in height. With an intuitive design, simply load your ink cartridge, create or upload your message, position your product, and activate the motor. Your message is added in seconds. Supporting both solvent and water-based inks in a variety of colors like black, white, red, blue, and even UV, the SNEED-Jet Titan accommodates a wide range of surfaces from aluminum cans and plastic bottle caps to food packaging and ceramic items. Upgrade your coding operations today with the versatile and reliable SNEED-Jet Titan tabletop printer. Like always, stay tuned for our next episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell down below to stay up to date with all of our great content, and let us know what topics you'd like to see us talk about here on the show. We look forward to hearing from you all. Bye, everyone.